Hey traders, Raghi here, and in this video we're going to review a couple of the things that not only that I do on an end of day basis, but on an intraday basis to take advantage of where we are in the market. And where we are right now in the market, gang, is we are in chop. This is not the market that has been rallying as an uptrend. Know the difference that you can expect in your account, in your trading results, in a choppy market versus a trending market. Trending markets are always going to be better for your trading. They're more predictable, specifically uptrends. So when I have a choppy market, and today we waited for trades that were testing support in order to get long, my ambition every morning is exactly the same thing. Find out what the directional bias is, trade in that direction, and try as best I can to have taken a profit somewhere around 11:30, 12 o'clock Eastern or earlier. That's really the end of that window, and move to a break-even stop and stop intraday trading for the day. Can you day trade all day? Absolutely. Can you day trade after hours? Can you day trade early pre-market Europe? For sure. But I have found by studying my own results and even, this is another thing to think about. You might be a night person. Trading in the morning may not be your thing. You might enjoy trading the Asian session, but you've got to make the changes. You've got to understand the different price movement ranges that you're going to be dealing with at different times of the day. I'm dealing with the most volatile time of the day, which is in many ways sometimes the most risky, but it's also the one where I could see the best follow through. And I also believe the opening of the main trading session for equities around the world, the US opening, is going to offer the most predictability. All right, so with that being said, the focus is the first 2 hours and waiting for those low ranges and then watch the market move higher is exactly what I want to do, whether that be the Dow, the S&P, or the NASDAQ. All right, now another thing to keep in mind is don't underestimate the benefit of looking at options in the SPY, options in the QQQ, and options in the DIA. IWM would go along for the ride as well if you want to trade the options on the Russell instead of the underlying Russell futures. But then that brings me to something we started talking about yesterday, and that is understanding the heavily weighted sectors within the broader averages. Are they behaving better? Is there more bullishness in, say, the XLY than the QQQ? Is there more bullishness in, for example, the XLF than, for example, in the SPY? Are transports, the IYT, moving in a way that's better, clearer than the DIA or even the YM? And that's also something else we focus on. So today, in an effort to navigate around the Google narrative and any kind of weakness that I was concerned the NASDAQ and the XLC ETF might experience, I thought, let's take a look at a long position in the XLK. So when the market started selling off down to support levels, the idea was, let's see if we can't take advantage of an oversold low in the XLK and hitch our wagon more to Microsoft, more to Apple. And so when you start thinking this way, is this related to the futures markets? Oh gosh, absolutely. It's just being more granular about what part of the market that you think is going to be a relative outperformer. And so these were two examples, XLK and Microsoft, where I thought, well, and they weren't easy. Believe me, though, the volatility we saw today and then the news-driven surge higher. One of the reasons I have stuck with the directional bias is because the daily time frame continues to basically have us above key volume weighted average price levels that would have me more bullish than bearish. So I like to trade in a one-way manner. I don't like to trade both directions of the market intraday. If I have a particular symbol where I could say, well, I could be short or I could be long at the same time, then that's a market that I feel that I have no edge in. But if I feel that at this level of support is a level that could be a buy, instant edge, right? So I don't feel that I want to be a short seller. And I also know that all it takes in this environment, and many of you know this, is one vaccine optimism headline or pessimism headline, one stimulus optimism or pessimism. So a lot of what we're trading right now in this chop, gang, has nothing to do with what's on the chart. So we have to think about Did we just come off the pendulum swing of pessimism? Because we know the other side of it's optimism. Did we just come off the pendulum swing of optimism? Because we know the other side is pessimism. And usually the optimism is going to drive the market. Do you guys think if we don't get a stimulus package before the election that we won't get one after? I mean, the one thing that all these headlines aren't really saying is, gosh, whether we get a stimulus package in the next 14 days or the next 28 days, whatever it is, there's a very high likelihood we're going to get a stimulus package. Why this deadline of before or after the election? Well, I'll leave that to you all to sort out. But I think most of you know. It's the game that's being played. So you're going to get swept up. We're going to get swept up. I'm going to get swept up in this. So one way to avoid that is stay very nimble. And for the most part, stick with the long side. Yesterday's trading, the way that the market just ground down all day, that really is sort of the anomaly. Today's trading is a little bit more normal for distribution. In other words, little weakness, little strength, little weakness again. This is actually tradable. This is actually much easier to trade than a day that just grinds higher, although that's the bias, so it's easier to catch, or a day that grinds lower. You'll find those grinding days not so great unless you're a momentum trader. If you're a trader that likes to fade, then days like today are fine. You know, give me about an hour and a half of movement higher. Let me move to a break-even stop. I'll take that any day of the week. That's one thing we did not get yesterday. So when you're doing your studies, you know, I like to call it, you know, going into the film room, and you're looking at the way in which, say, yesterday behaved as opposed to today. Not that there's any right or wrong. Here's some homework, okay? Look at yesterday and ask yourself, is this the kind of day that I like to look for? Look at today. I'm going to do much better on a day like today. I went 3 for 4 today. I'm going to do much better on a day like today. Days like yesterday, against my directional bias, and then just grinding lower, there's not much I can do with those. Study the days that you do well in, dive deep, and focus on that kind of behavior. Once you can recognize the pitch, right? Yesterday's pitch versus today's, you'll know what kind of hitter you are. Hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next update.